Binational Fire Radio.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Size Up by National Fire Radio, because what you do off the job matters. And I'm so excited today because I have a great guest, and we had some banter off camera, which I always have. And I'm always like, we have to stop talking because you're going to say something that totally needs to be said on the podcast. And he actually said something really funny that we're not going to say on the podcast, but it had me laughing and was like, man, this is definitely going to be a good episode. But before I get to introducing him, I want to give a quick shout out to former guest Griff and his company Stash Salt. And this is like, he's not paying me. I bought this mustache wax. That is his newest blend from Stash Salt, the Stash Orama punk rock blend, whatever he's got going on with it right now. Look, I'll move it even a little bit more closer. But you guys know I have my wife has a hate relationship with my mustache. I have a love-hate relationship with this mustache, and it comes and it goes, and it was getting ready to go, and Griff dropped this new punk rock stash blend, and I'm like, let me try it out and see. By far his best blend yet. It smells really good. It goes on really easy. It comes off your fingers quite well after you finish your twirling and all that kind of stuff. So check him out at Stash Salt. You can go back, listen to his episode. I do not remember what number it is. I could flip through my notes and find it, I'm sure. But it was a while ago. He has a great story. Always happy to support him and what he's got going on. So I figured while I still have the stash, because I don't think it's making it in the summer, basically based off of what we're going to talk about today, probably, but we'll see. It may last or not. I figured I'd show him some love and kind of go from there. So Griff, Stash Salt, thanks so much. Appreciate it. All right. Enough babbling from me. On to my guest today. This dude, it's crazy kind of how our lives maybe intersected, but never really did in a few different ways, whether it be we were on the same volunteer department at very different times. He almost ended up working for my department, where if my timing is right, I would have actually been one of the cadre in his academy class. But that didn't happen either. And then at FDIC, he appeared at the booth and was like, yo, we got to talk. So it's always cool to have a brother from New Jersey on, because, I love New Jersey. And today we're going to talk about a whole bunch of different things. Jack, what's going on, buddy? How are you?
What's up, Pip? For a second, I thought we were going to talk about mustaches for a while, and I'm motivated to bring mine back now. It's like my first clean-shaven year in a while, so summer's coming
full
up.
year?
Like, maybe
You've got a full year?
Well, since January, I usually hack it off in December and then regrow it in the summer. So, but we don't have to talk about facial hair for the whole. We
don't have to talk about it for the whole time. But listen, it's. So I kind of, when I was younger, I was like, I'd really like to have a mustache, right? And it just was never happening. Like, it just grew in patchy. It took forever. There was nothing going on there. So I had given it up until a few years ago, and it might have been like a COVID thing when it first started, but I don't know. It comes and it goes. I like it. I really want a beard, but work doesn't let you do that yet. So a few more years.
No, the stash is cool. For me, it's all about street cred. I feel like, we can train as much as we want as firemen or whatever your discipline is, but looking good doing it is probably 85% of it. And nothing gives you credit as a firefighter like having a mustache. And that's really it for me. But
dude, do you know how many fires have gone out just by the mere presence of my mustache? Like, you walk in with this mustache, I get off the ladder truck and the fire just goes away because I have this epic mustache.
Yeah, for all the time we spend talking about safety, it's just grow a mustache and you're there,
Yeah, 100%. You don't need gear. You don't have to worry about any of this stuff. Just look at it and it goes. The other day, my kids and I drove past a car fire and I looked at it and it went out bam, that. Nobody wants to talk about that. I don't understand why. You're wasting their time. Every word of it. 3/4, 2.5. What are you pulling first? Going in, just grow a mustache and you'll be fine.
Just grow a mustache. It's all the manufacturers. They would just lose too much money, so they don't advertise that fact.
100%. I would definitely go with that for sure. But my wife also says, being we're on mustache topic, she's like, you already have the mohawk. Why do you have to have the mustache? Why do you need one more thing? But then I tell her, I'm like, look, you got purple hair and you got crazy glasses. You get two things. Why don't I get two things? So
right. It's only fair. But yeah, you mentioned how many times our paths almost crossed. So I think if I remember correctly, you worked on 720 as well, Rutgers EMS, right?
Yeah.
For a brief time. Yeah. So that's where I was when I was at college, and then we were on the same volley department. But while you obviously wouldn't remember me, I was just a punk college kid. But when I was riding on that volley department, and we would come into the city of New Brunswick, that was like the coolest thing in the world to me. So I obviously like you said, you're like a super identifiable guy. So like you guys were like my heroes. Like, I really wanted to work for that department, and anytime we made it on a job. So like you obviously you wouldn't recognize who I was, but I always like, always knew who you were, and some of the other characters in the department. So like you said, it was really funny when it all came full circle, and I saw you out at FDIC, and I was a casual listener of the pod, and I love everything you do with fitness and promoting wellness in the fire service. So yeah, I had to stop and talk to you, and so I'm glad we're here now. I'm really excited.
Yeah, it's one of those things too, and I've said this on the last couple episodes because it's been a lot of folks that I met at FDIC. But for you, just stop and talk to people, like regardless of where you are. Like if you know someone, whatever they're doing, or you think you know them, or you have that common interest, it's such a great thing because we're going to spend this hour together and learn more about each other as that goes on. Even though we've had these like strange path intersections, and probably for Rutgers EMS, I was probably on the roll still there when you were working there. I just wasn't working. I pretty much was like a Rutgers EMS employee for like 9 years or so, but I think I only worked like 5 of them. Maybe I worked a football game here or there, like an event there towards the end. But that was like a great job. Were you at Rutgers when you worked for Rutgers, or?
Yeah, so yeah, 2008 to 2012, I was undergrad at Rutgers, and yeah, working there, and then doing the volley fire stuff in 27.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool thing that most people like. You don't really think about like a college having their own EMS organization or even their own fire department for that matter. Rutgers did have one for a while, and now they have a kind of element of a responder that comes out with us. But on the EMS end, it was a very, and it still is a very professional EMS organization that employs full-time employees for their career, which is it's a great opportunity to work for the state university and do EMS, but then they also hire a fair amount of students too that get them some more experience, especially if they want to go into the emergency services. And I just know from my time there, and I was not a Rutgers student when I was working for them. Let's just say I was a Rutgers student for a very brief time is an easy way to put that. Not while I was working there.
Hmm.
But when I look back at my time there and a lot of the folks that were students or had either maybe just graduated, you know, they, and I guess me included, have all gone on to successful careers, whether it's in the emergency services field or some other type of field.
I can't even tell you how often I have a question or I need a contact in some state or federal agency or other department in the state of New Jersey and beyond. And I'm like, oh, you know what? I used to work with a guy. Hang on, I still got his phone number, And it's true. I mean, the amount of the networking that came from that job, and then even the volley department at 27, still maintain contacts with those people, and the careers that they've all gone out to do is it's really incredible. Just recently, I got a buddy who's in the DEA now, and had a question for him, and I was like, oh, but we worked 720 together. Hang on, let me give him a shout. So yeah, I mean, case in point, it's like it's wild the amount of people who've walked through those doors.
And it's that thing too that you don't really ever think about it. And I know for me, I definitely didn't think about it when I was working there. And even in my earlier EMS career, like these connections that you make and these folks that you work with. I mean, one of my best or funniest EMS calls ever happened when I was working Rutgers BLS. And the guy that was my partner just became a deputy chief up in a northern New Jersey fire department just a few days ago. And it's just these connections, again, like you have that you don't really realize it. And with social media now, it allows you to stay together with people forever. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, all good stuff. Really good stuff.
Yeah, it's definitely a win, and it allows you, it's just that extra level of connection, right?
Hmm. For
So
sure.
what got you into this whole world of emergency services and such?
It was probably I was definitely like just a buff as a young kid. Always curious where the fire trucks were going. So I started as a junior firefighter down here. It was a pretty cool program. You could get in when you're 16, and we still have that going. And it's great to kind of sink the hooks in at a young age. And then from there, it just got crazy. I started lifeguarding. I had always swam competitively, and then being on the beach, that kind of element of emergency services just fueled it even more. And then fire academy, and then it was like oh well, I know I'm going to Rutgers and I can get this part-time job, so I should go to EMT school too. And then went to EMT school, and then it's just like, finished college, and then it was, all right, where am I going to end up? I knew kind of as I was working all these part-time jobs and volunteer and on the beach. I knew that it was somewhere in that world that I wanted to work. And so towards the end of college, it was like, all right, the applications are just going out anywhere and everywhere. And yeah, here I am.
And lifeguarding is a great entry point into this emergency services field because, I mean, what was I? I guess I was 17 when I got certified as a pool lifeguard, and that's actually was like my first real job was being like a pool lifeguard. I never made it as far to the beach, even though I had kind of thought about it and had aspirations like, hey, I'm already an EMT. I was swimming like crazy back then. Like it was like the best shape of my life was pool lifeguarding for sure. I can only imagine if I ended up on the ocean. But again, not realizing it at 18 or 19 that I was in that great of shape and it was going to be really hard, even though people are like, oh, it's your 45. And now I'm like, yeah, I know what that guy was saying. Like when I was doing push-ups on the side of the pool, because you had time to work out. Like essentially you were getting paid to work out because they wanted you to be in shape. You know, I worked for a pretty proactive YMCA that really was into the lifeguards, you know, being ready to do their job and perform rescues, even if it was in a pool.
Yeah, no doubt. And you brought up a really good point. Something that I kind of struggle with as a training coordinator for the beach now is we're bringing in kids 16, 17, 18 years old. And like you said, it's very, you know, for a lot of them, it's their first job. So not only are you teaching them kind of that baseline work ethic and expectations in the profession, but or in any profession, but you're it's not a summer job when you're working on the beach. I tell them that all the time. You know, your friends have summer jobs. Your friends are scooping ice cream, they're bar back, and they're doing whatever. You're entering a profession, and there's different levels of certification and professionalism that come with that. So it's a really, really interesting environment to, you know, get these kids to a point where they're ready to work a 40-hour work week like they've never done before. But then within those 40 hours, being faced with potentially life or death decisions, and every single one of them will tell you at the end of their first summer that they were in those positions within probably the first couple weeks. So it is definitely a challenge, and but it's great. You know, we're kicking off rookie school tomorrow night is their orientation, and then we jump right into their training this weekend. So that's why like all these things are like fresh on my mind. You know, like you know how am I gonna you know kick off the training academy? What's my spiel gonna be? How am I gonna get them amped up and like you know prepare them mentally for what they're about to face? And so it's cool. But yeah, I mean, first job, and boom, you're gonna be dealing with people's lives.
Yeah, I mean, I worked so again, networking stuff. Even so, I started working EMS and kind of left lifeguarding, but still picked up work here and there. And one of the dudes that I worked for at the Y worked for a pool company. You know, he had a bunch of contracts, so I would work for him occasionally. And like I was working, I don't even know. It's crazy because I rarely even remember this story, but I was supposed to work and I couldn't. So he got a new kid. It was his first day to do like the 5 a.m. shift. And it was at like an active adult community pool. And the pool had a track that was up on the second floor that walked around. And this
Very cool.
17, 18-year-old kid on his first day, a guy who was up on that track every day that I had worked there, went into cardiac arrest. And this kid was all alone, you know, first day, no EMS training, you know, did the lifeguard CPR class. He did CPR, he put a defib on him, EMS arrived. And so later that day, this guy called me and he's like, dude, you got to talk to this kid. And like, remind you at the time, I think I was 19 or 20 because I just started working EMS, but he's like, you know, you have done this way more than I ever have. You've been through this. Can you talk to this kid and just see what his bearing is? And here I am like, sure. Not even realizing now, like, holy Christ, I probably had no right to talk to that kid. You know what I mean? Like at my
Mm-hmm.
very immature age, even though I had been on a lot of cardiac arrest calls and had dealt with that. And I'm like vividly picturing that morning, whenever it was the next week, with this kid in the office. And honestly, I don't think he lifeguarded ever again because that was
Yeah.
just one of those terms. But it's one of those things that you have to prepare for, right? And
Yeah.
like you said, you have these kids coming out to the beach. And I mean, listen, this episode's going to come out in June. We're recording literally 7 days before Memorial Day weekend. So here in New
Mm-hmm.
Jersey, for the folks that don't know, it's not called the beach, it's called the shore. I'm sure we're going to talk about that as time goes on here, but that's like the kickoff to lifeguards working at the shore. Like all the beaches in New Jersey, all the shore towns, some have a skeleton crew that'll start a little bit earlier, but it's basically Memorial Day to Labor Day. So you're kicking off rookie school and they're going to work on Saturday pretty much, right?
Yeah, yeah. So they'll be they go through 80 hours of training, and that's everything from open water. They get advanced first aid certificates, and they'll kick that off this weekend. And then we want to have them kind of through like a week of field training. So finish their academy, get about a week on the beach, kind of get their bearings, and then by 4th of July weekend, they're soup to nuts, good to go for the remainder of the summer. And yeah, very very realistic timing goal, but yeah, we got our work cut out for us.
And again, too, you don't know any of these kids' backgrounds. I mean, obviously, most of them, if you're going to be an ocean lifeguard, you're a swimmer to begin with. You're not just showing up like, oh, I don't really swim very well. Like, and they've been through training already, right, for you in some form?
So nothing more than just a swim test, a run test, and an interview, and then we take it from there. So we handle all their baseline certifications from CPR, the advanced first aid, their open water surf life saving certificate from USLA. We will provide all that. So the pool's probably a little different. You have to get like that Red Cross pool lifeguard cert, but we'll take them with absolutely nothing and give them everything from the ground up.
Sure, that's what I had, the Red Cross lifeguard cert. I
Yeah.
think, yeah, but it's that thing where it's a great job for a young kid, but it does require a lot of responsibility, and you
Hmm.
need people kind of like you, how you said that, like jump off spiel. I worked for some really good bosses that kind of were like, this is a big deal. I had already been doing the volley EMS thing, so I had kind of figured it out. But I definitely worked with some folks, or had some folks within the places that I've worked, that I was like, dude, someone could drown here. Like, I get it, it's just a pool, but and even for that kid that day, it wasn't a drowning. It was a medical emergency within the pool, but you're still the
Hmm.
person there. So you have to be ready for that, and you have to be ready for it alone, which is even the scarier part, I think.
Hmm. Yeah, for sure. And it's it's not for everyone. We find out pretty quick who it is for and who it isn't. The Jersey Shore is a it's kind of a crazy place from Memorial Day to Labor Day weekend. If it can go wrong, it will go wrong, and chances are it's going to be that 16, 17, 18-year-old kid, first one there. And that's it's a good way to weed people out, but it's a good way to watch these kids like rise to the occasion and figure out if this is actually something for them.
And I think you probably see that more often than not, is the people rising to that occasion. Because again, the kids that I know who've worked, who become life, God, I feel so old. I just said kids. Like the people that I know who have started as ocean lifeguards here in Jersey, even other places, they're really out there because they want to do it. They want to be, and again, I'll age myself, but Mitch Buchanan, like they're
Yeah.
ready to do it, right? Like they'll be ready, like the song was. And it's been cool having my boys, because they've started surf lessons. God, I think we started Finn in Asbury when he was 8, with Summertime Surf School, which is a little plug for those
Yeah.
guys down. And they have a bunch of places and different beaches in New Jersey. We've always gone to Asbury. But I thought one of the cool things that they did was half of it was surf lessons and half was ocean skills. And both boys, we stopped going last year because we just had too much going on. We're probably not going back this year. But their ocean skills, I don't, not to sound like a bad dad, but I can sit on my chair and I'm not worried about them in the ocean. They know what's coming. You see them turning to look for the next wave if they get wiped out, because like you said, the Jersey Shore could switch like that. It could be like a nice glassy day, and the next thing you
Hmm.
know, you're getting pummeled.
Oh yeah, you're one wind shift away from a totally total switch in atmosphere. You brought up two good things. One is obviously surfers, lifeguards, fishermen, whatever. Um, Everyone's a waterman, right? And like, how do you define waterman? And it's a combination of having both an understanding for the ocean, but also a respect for it. And you definitely see that in the surfing community. And surfers, as much as it's difficult sometimes to tell them where they can and can't surf, they're definitely like our biggest assets out there when we're not there, as far as lifeguards go. And like I said, they have an understanding of the ocean, a willingness to help, and just true watermen in every sense of the word. And the other thing you brought up is with kids coming into the profession and kind of like wanting to have their Baywatch moment, like you said, we could have and rising to the occasion. We could have a whole conversation. I know it's like one of the biggest topics in the fire service right now. You hear everybody kind of vent about the new generation and younger kids, and I think I'm like a huge defender of this generation, and I think they bring a lot more pros to the table than cons. And it's just a question of kind of how do you become a leader to that generation and making it more of a collaborative effort. And I think that this generation coming up is really really talented, and they bring a lot to the table, and I love working with the newer kids. I'm not one of those people who's like, oh, the newer generation, how do you get through to them? They're this, they're that, they're lazy. It's like we were that generation once too, and there was another generation saying the exact
Right?
same thing
Okay,
about
so
us, and it's
there's the
like,
soapbox, man. I'll go on it right now
oh,
because I've said this. I don't think I've said it on any podcast yet, right? But I can look at this now at work where I'm the 20-year captain, right? And I can think back to my 20-year captain when I was the 25-year-old rookie, and our interactions are very different than the ones that I have with my 25-year-old rookie at this point, or this generation, however you want to look at it. But when you think about that even more, when my captain was the rookie and his 20-year captain was a Vietnam era vet, do not tell me that their interactions and that generation, like, look at this punk kid. Like, I could even talk about it from my dad, and talking about like a firefighter came in with an earring and my father told him he was going to cut his ear off, type thing, 30 years ago. And it's that same thing. And it's your willingness as the leader now, like you said, to learn how to work with them and how to make them this employee or this person, whatever you want to say.
hmm no doubt, no doubt. I know, like, the biggest thing is the phones. They're glued to their phones. They're glued to social media, and I
What
love
we
putting the
are?
twist
Look,
on
it's
that.
right here.
Yep.
Look, here it
Yeah,
is. Look,
exactly.
I mean,
Yeah,
we are too. It's right here. I
I
am just
know.
as bad as they are. Like, you
Yep.
can't.
But
I
you know
hate
what?
that line.
I know. But what's the pro to that? The benefits of that are, if they do have that passion, and it's, for the fire service, for lifeguarding, for whatever the discipline is, if they have that passion, that's something that they are immersing themselves in all the time. Think about how these algorithms work, like what's getting fed to their phone, what's in their reels. It's it's surfing huge waves in Tahiti, it's a jet ski rescue on the North Shore of Hawaii, and it's just constant all day, all day, all day, all day. Where the older generation, they don't have that. They have their own personal experiences and whatever they might have read in a book or seen in a movie, but they're not immersed in it 24/7. These kids are coming to the table with such, I don't want to call it knowledge because there's a lot of bad as much as there is
Sure.
good, and you can't replace experience. But it's like they have the opportunity to just be in their living room or wherever they are, and like I said, be immersed in this culture and just be surrounded by it 24/7. And the older generation, they didn't have that, so you kind of got to take that, manipulate it, and it's very easy to turn that into a strength. These kids are bringing a lot more to the table than you or I were when we came in, because we just didn't have access to all that information and the videos and the 24/7 content.
No, I was watching VHS tapes of firefighters in New York that some guy was filming. That, well, actually, I ended up working with one of like the biggest New York City fire buffs. Like, I grew up watching his videos, and I ended up working EMS with him when I was a medic, and he was doing BLS. It was crazy. I'm like, whoa, you're that dude! Like, holy cow!
hmm
But we were doing the same thing. They just have the information at their fingertips, and it's
Yep.
like you said. Like, if we stick on the kind of ocean rescue side, look, man, when you were coming up as a lifeguard, you didn't really have the ability to watch that jet ski rescue in Tahiti unless someone had it on, I guess, for your generation, maybe a DVD, and maybe
hmm
YouTube just started. Whereas now, if you're like, look, we can watch this perfect execution of a rescue on this video and learn from it. And that's the information that they have, and we have to teach them how to process, right?
Exactly. How to process and kind of give like a critical analysis of it. Like, just because you saw it and it looked cool doesn't mean it was done correctly, doesn't mean it was done safe, doesn't mean it, falls into our policies, our procedures, our guidelines, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And, like I said, it's applicable to the fire side, the beach side, whatever your discipline is. But it's a really good starting point, and it's a really good building block to kind of mold them from there. And I love to see it, man. It's like, on Instagram, it's like every single day, the young kids in the firehouse, the young kids on the beach, my DMs are just like, you know, blown up with this video, that video. Look at this rescue. Look at these guys on the North Shore. Look at this job that the Bronx caught. This is so crazy. Like, look at this grab. And I love it. It's great. And it's like I said, these kids are immersed in it. They're passionate, and we didn't have that opportunity.
No, it's all about using it to progress forward. And I think
Mm-hmm.
the same thing, we did that. They did that with my generation. They just did it differently. And we, again,
Mm-hmm.
have to do it differently. And I'm seeing it with my sons more than anything, because some of the things that they're learning on social media, both good and bad, let's say, but, keeping an eye on what they're watching. But some of the things that they tell me, I'm like, what what are you talking about? Like, how did you learn that? Or my youngest one especially is really big on YouTube, like just the kid comes up with some stuff that I'm like, oh my God. But when I think about their career paths and where they may want to go, their ability to have that knowledge and process it is just such at a higher level than mine. And I mean, they're even using it
Hmm.
in school now, like watching different videos. I mean, this past week, they did their like New Jersey testing, and it's all on the computers. And my son likes to make fun of me. He's like, "Oh, back in the day when I had to fill up bubbles," I'm like, "I'm gonna punch you in the teeth, man! Like if you keep this up." But right, they're
Yeah.
learning those things. Where we were talking before about doing, I was complaining about video editing. Listen, my
Hmm.
sons do a better job at video editing than I do for sure.
Oh yeah, and they'll never know the pain of a Scantron.
Mm-mm. It actually had me wondering, like, I wonder what they're going to do with in New Jersey with the civil service test, because they're still all Scantron fill in the bubbles. But when you get to this generation of kids, my son will be going into high school next year. I don't think he takes any test on Scantron. So I have no idea how New Jersey is going to get around this one of being like, okay, I want to be a cop or a fireman, fill out these bubbles and don't mess it up for the first time in your life.
Oh yeah, I mean, I don't know if the state is the accurate metric to gauge progression because I mean, I don't know. They'll probably be doing Scantrons like 150 years from now and not make any real meaningful progressive change. But I don't know. We could. I'm sure we all have
Listen,
our different opinions on the state.
all my promotional prep buddies out there teaching, start to learn how to teach people how to take Scantrons, because that may have to be a whole part of the lesson that you've never
there's a
had before, right? Because
there's a
again,
market for that. Yeah.
yeah, there's got to be a market for that, right?
Yeah.
So I think,
Yeah.
you know, and you tell me if I'm wrong, but with the fire service, with law enforcement, with EMS, it kind of all progresses because of what we deal with. Like fires burn hotter, faster because what's in their houses now. There's new trends in medicine. Law enforcement has changed, but when it comes to the ocean, and like I think you used the term waterman before, right?
Hmm.
The ocean's the ocean, the ocean. Not much has changed, correct? Or am I
Yeah. I
wrong?
mean,
I mean, there's been beach erosion and things like that, but like that water has always been unforgiving.
yeah, for sure. Unforgiving and I in some of the courses that I teach, I try to bridge a lot of that gap between fire and surf life saving and bring like a lot of that water rescue element that I got from the beach to the fire service. And one of the comparisons I make that I think you're trying to articulate now is comparing like the ocean environment to an ideal H atmosphere, like where we operate as
Sure.
firefighters, and just how like you said, you have to have respect for a fire because the fire gets a vote. You got to have respect for the ocean because the ocean gets a vote. And a lot of people, again, from like the fire service perspective, um, they look at the ocean thinking like, okay, if I treat this like a fire, like there's gear I can put on, and just by virtue of the fact that I'm wearing it, it's going to keep me safe in there. And the ocean is just so much more of an X factor than a fire, and it's a lot more unpredictable. Um, but they're similar. It's just it's very different. There's a much more intense skill set involved in being in the ocean than in a fire. But it's very similar, and it's such a common threshold to cross back and forth because again, like lifeguarding, firefighting, it's an emergency service. We're first responders, and it's just kind of natural for us to try and apply like what we know about one to the other. But yeah, the same but different, I guess, to sum that
Yeah, yeah.
little
Well, it's the
that
things
little
too.
tangent up.
I mean, I've gone down there with the boys some days, and I'm like, nope, you're not going in the water today. And they're like, what do you mean? And I'm like, we could put our feet in, but I'm like, look at that break right there. Look at the way those waves are crashing. They're gonna wreck you. You're 3 feet tall, and the waves are breaking over your head. And
Hmm.
so for folks, again, I have listeners all around the world, and you're gonna probably correct this, and I should just ask you how it works. But in New Jersey, at most of the shore areas, there's not a very big break, right? Like you're not going out that far like you would in Wildwood, which is in extreme southern New Jersey. So you have more of a shore break, right?
Yeah, Wildwood's really unique in the way that the sand deposits there. They're like the only beach in the state of New Jersey that's growing. So they have like a very long, gradual, depth. It's different. I've raced down there, and you're right. The beach is totally different, and the beach varies like geographically from where you go. They do beach replenishment here and there, and when they do beach replenishment, then you have kind of like you lose your sandbars, so you have like a lot of deep water, so you're not going to have that wave formation there. You have some beaches that have jetties, others that don't. Jetties are what's going to form a lot of like our rip currents. It's like the main cause of drowning and ocean rescues is getting caught in a rip current. So yes, to answer your question, like every beach is so different geographically, and it's the contour of the bottom, whatever sort of like onshore hazards we might have, outflow pipes, and jetties, groins, inlets, all these things. So yeah, every beach is different, and it's like you get to know it really well if you're sitting there for 40 hours a week staring at the same beach. Um, but yes, you're 1,000% right. But I'm glad we're talking about this, because I would just like to take a second. We lost two firefighters last year who were attempting rescues in the ocean. One right here in my hometown, from the FDNY. Guy went out, tried to save his daughter, and unfortunately drowned in the process. And then another firefighter down in, I want to say it was Georgia, or he was a firefighter from Georgia. He was on vacation, but just attempting to rescue people who were struggling and drown in the process. So, it is important to touch on the fact that, it's in our nature, right? We want to help, and we're going to throw ourselves into something like that whenever somebody needs our help. But again, just kind of respecting that ocean environment, and if you're going to be in that situation, kind of educating yourself and training a little bit to act proficiently in it.
And I'm fairly certain the one that happened here in New Jersey, that was an off hours, no lifeguards on duty type situation, which I feel like when you see drownings on the news, New York, New Jersey type area, it's mostly no lifeguards on duty, correct?
Correct. Yeah, we're actually coming up on the 1 year anniversary. It was a Friday in early June. So on the Jersey Shore specifically, overwhelmingly, you have lifeguards on duty from Memorial Day to Labor Day. But until schools let out, you really only have lifeguards on duty on the weekends, Saturdays and Sundays, and then the weekends. I'm sorry, during the week are completely unprotected. And like you mentioned earlier, some beaches have some skeleton crews on, and that kind of varies town to town. But yeah, overwhelmingly, you're just looking at weekends until the end of June, and then full time, and then Labor Day weekend. It's a hard stop in a lot of places. And I don't know. You said we were going to talk about the beach and some of the local vernacular, but once Labor Day hits, like September and early October, we call that local summer. And that's
right.
Kind of like we got the nice weather, we got the warm water, and kind of the crowds go away, but we don't have lifeguards on duty, and it's still the beach is still very inviting.
And those are the times too, like I said, where I've been there with my boys, and I'm like, we're not going in the water today. Like I'm not, because again, it's so easy to have that transition and that turn. And sure, I'm a decent, like to consider myself a decent swimmer. I mean, I got crushed when I did a triathlon in open water swimming, which is a story for another day, but I consider myself being able to, recognize some of the hazards, especially you mentioned rip currents, which are huge here in New Jersey. And I actually think the boys can recognize them faster than I can just from their time with the summertime surf community. But it's that you really have to make a judgment call every time you're there, and using your best judgment and kind of realizing, I know I've been out far and been like, ooh, now I got to get back. This could be bad. Like you catch a cramp, you're going to have a problem trying to get back.
Yeah, for sure. And it's the tough part about that is you have like those massive days or like really strong onshore winds where the ocean is just so obviously dangerous, and you're not going to go in and you're never going to let your kids in. And then you have those days where it's like so obviously calm, like a light onshore wind, no swell in the water, or light offshore wind, no swell in the water. But it's kind of like those in between days where you see people really getting in trouble, where the ocean still kind of looks inviting, but you can't see if it's sweeping one way or the other. If you have like what we call like a really long period swell, and those bigger set waves are only going to be coming every 10, 15, 20 minutes. Those are the days that we really find people getting into trouble when there's no lifeguards on duty, because the ocean will look inviting, but it's really not.
And that's the other thing too, which listen, you can stand on your public service message here too, but right, like I said, I consider myself to be a pretty decent swimmer, and I'm good in the ocean, but when you have someone that's drowning or in trouble and they're panicking, now me, the pretty decent swimmer, has to swim with them, which I can go back to my pool lifeguarding days, and it was not easy to do that when you were training. We had equipment. We all had the rubber whatever that thing, floaty device thing was
Sure.
called there, or whatever that is.
That's the official term. Yeah, the floaty device.
The rubber floaty device, the red rubber floaty
Yes.
device that you have to have on your
Yep.
lap and clip to you at all times, right? But
Yep.
that
Yep.
was there
Yep.
because you can't, that other person is going to take you under with them. I think that's kind of it's the same thing why it's reach, row, throw, go here in the world of, a not water
hmm
rescue firefighter, because the last thing you want to do is get pulled under by that drowning victim. And I do think in the case of the FDNY firefighter who lost his life, he was able to help his daughter, but then ran into trouble himself. So it's
hmm
that other thought too, that there's another person out there that's going to change everything for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And like you said, it's people. You can take a very very talented swimmer, and it's going to take them some time to translate that skill set into the ocean. And it's kind of like my favorite part of rookie school because right off the bat, it's like I can beat a lot of these kids who are much faster swimmers than me in the ocean. As they get better, like by the end of rookie school, they're smoking me, and it's embarrassing. But for those like first couple days when they're like learning how to translate that kind of pool skill set into the ocean, it's good for me and my buddies who we don't swim like that anymore. But so we have like a couple days of being faster than them, and then they end up taking off and smoking us in the long run. But yes, that skill set doesn't just naturally translate because you're a great pool swimmer right into the ocean. You got to actually train in open water, as you learn having done a triathlon.
It was not fun, man.
Sorry to bring it up. It looks like you've been halted by it.
Listen, I have no problem saying I'll probably never do a triathlon again. Now, I will say that I did not do a lot of open water swimming in my training. And I did not do open water swimming with a larger group. And that's where I got just crushed by people
Dude,
swimming over
it's
me.
gnarly.
Yeah, like pulling my
Yeah.
leg and pulling me under
hmm
and back and not. I crashed into a lifeguard kayak. I mean, it was only supposed to be a
hmm
mile swim, and I think my watch said I swam like 2 miles.
Yeah.
It was rough.
Yeah. Yeah. Open water swimming is a whole other animal. If it makes you feel any better, I also one and done in the triathlon game. I did one. I checked that box, and I've moved on. It's other endeavors now. But
What distance
yeah,
did you do? Wait, now we're gonna play. Who's?
I did a full iron.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna be quiet then.
But it
You
was
did no
very
other.
much.
Wait. You did no other triathlons and went into a full iron.
No, yeah, just yeah. It was COVID. The gyms shut
Right.
down. I need something to train for. I can't get in a gym. I'm losing my mind. It was like around that time I realized I exercise as much for my mental health as I do my physical
Sure.
health.
As we all
And
did.
yeah, a couple. I don't know if you could call them good friends or bad friends, but they were like, yeah, we've been training for an iron. We're doing one in next year. You should just sign up for it. Sign up for it. And then on a whim, I was like, all right, and sign up for it. I did it. It went great. Never again. I'm good. I love running. I love swimming. If I never step foot on one of those bicycles again, it'll be too soon. I mean, I
I
got off
love the bike.
that.
The bike was the
Oh,
best
dude,
part. Well, the run, I
I
shouldn't say that. The run was the best part, but the bike, I love, like, I'll go out on my road bike for miles and just get into my own
oh,
self here. No?
I got off that triathlon bike at the race, and I never touched it again until I sold it a year and a half later. Like, dude, I'm telling, never again. I have zero interest. I hate the bicycle. I hate training on it. I feel like there's very little return on your time investment. And so you'll tell me I'm crazy, but no, you can get a great training session in an hour. But when I was training for the iron, I was doing these like 6, 7 hour, 100, 110, 120 mile rides. And I was like, can I just go run for an hour or go swim for an hour or like go lift? Like, I feel like I'm
I
getting
do
way more out
agree.
of this. I have
I,
better things to do
I
than
do
be on that
agree.
bike. Oh my
It,
God. And your neck. I mean, like, forget about your legs. Like, just like this, like for hours. It was horrible. I
the
can't say
most,
enough bad things about
it sounds like you're really like anti-bike here. Like there's going to be a bunch of
it.
bike people like, this guy's the worst. Get him off. Like I do agree there. So there definitely is like, it's the least, like productive, I guess. Like you said, you'll be out there for 6 hours and you're like, I could have just ran for 2 and probably
hmm
got a more intense or harder workout. What I like about the bike is where I am in New Jersey, I can jump on my bike and I can go, and my town is very small. So a mile out of my town, and I'm on these scenic back farm roads. And I just like the way that is. And I had a guest on a while back, Conrad Weaver, to promote his documentary PTSD 911. He rode across the country and he talked about getting to see America in a slower type pace because you're on the bike and you're seeing all these things that, when you're doing 95 in a car, you're not really seeing. And that's what I use my bike trips for more than anything else. It's just kind of that lost in my own mind thing.
That makes perfect sense, and I can understand that because I try to do as much of my working out as I can in open water. So I do a lot of competitive rowing and open water swimming and prone paddling, and there's definitely a strong mental element to actually being on the water beyond what you're getting out of the actual physicality and the
Sure.
working out and the cardiovascular element. There's definitely that mental element. So I can understand that. That makes perfect sense. Being able to take that all in. I just didn't get it. That's it. It
But
just
that's
wasn't for
okay,
me.
right? So listen, I know you wanted to talk about fitness today too, aside from water stuff, and we're all over the place. But like, it's a
Hmm.
big deal is finding what fitness works for you, right? And
Hmm.
listen, if you're a lifeguard, you got to be swimming. There's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Like,
Hmm.
but you also need to do all these other things. And as I've grown in the fitness community, whatever you want to call it, so many of my friends have gone from triathlon to kettlebells to CrossFit to Brazilian Jiu Jitsu right now is still growing like crazy amongst like fitness people. Like a lot of CrossFit people are now totally into Jiu Jitsu and not doing CrossFit anymore. But whatever it is, it's okay, right? Like as long as you're
Hmm.
doing something for yourself, that's what I'm getting at here.
Yep, I couldn't agree more. You have like, and I feel like even then you have all these little like niche gyms that open niche. These like
Yeah,
little
sure.
niche gyms that open up like in every strip mall now. You have different ones. The spin classes. You have like the row classes, the F45, the this, the that, and it's they're not necessarily for me. But like you said, it's like, hey, if that's what's going to get somebody to kind of light that fire and get that passion going in them for fitness, great. It doesn't have to be for me. It doesn't have to be for you, but it's awesome. Whether it's, CrossFit, Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, whatever it is. It's great that there's so many outlets now for people to go out and get themselves in better shape.
Yeah, and that's it. You're doing something. I don't. It came. There was this time with 555 where it was like, oh, you need to write a firefighter fitness book, and you should do firefighter fitness videos, and you should do fire. And it's like firefighter fitness, firefighter fitness. I'm like, I just want these folks to do fitness. It doesn't have to be just because I'm using a sledgehammer. Whatever. That's great. I'd rather you do something that's going to work for you to make you healthier and to make you want to do it tomorrow. Because I think that's
Hmm.
the hardest part, right? Is like I can go work out today, but I have to want to work out tomorrow, and then the next
Right.
day, and then the next day.
Right. And you can't force it. It's not supposed to be easy, right? Like it's never going to be easy. You don't want it to be easy, but you have to get like there has to be some level of enjoyment there. And yeah, like you said, it's like, if that's what it is for you, the firefighter fitness thing, and you're doing like really practical exercises in your
Sure.
firehouse while you're on duty, and that's what works for you, and that's what's getting you in better shape. Awesome. Awesome. But like me personally, like that's not really for me. Like I'm not looking to do a circuit workout in the firehouse and just hang my hat on that and that be it. But it's also nice too, like a functional fitness, which I think you're like a big proponent of, is
Sure.
getting yourself to a level where you can jump into any one of those workouts at any time and like finish it and be there right there with whoever you're working out with. And so I think that's maybe instead of like the firehouse fitness thing, like functional fitness is something that we should be pushing.
And I think too, again, being in the fitness community, like I guess my whole life, it's an easy way to say it. Definitely not in the beginning of high school. I was just kind of lazy. But like once I realized like I was doing this EMS thing, I needed to be strong. I wanted to be a firefighter and whatever. I did every kind of fitness you can think of. But reading those old school magazines, God, I can remember working at Rutgers now and going to the Rutgers gyms. Cool part about working for the universities, you got to go to the university fitness centers.
Yeah, and there's like seven of them.
Yeah, and you can do anything. There's pools. There's
Yeah.
every piece of equipment you could go, and those are like the ones that like, dude. If you work for, and I just ran into a friend of mine. She works for Rutgers Athletics. If you could go to a university athletic fitness center, like where the athletes work out, then you're really on the cream of the crop stuff. But
Yeah.
back then I wasn't necessarily doing functional fitness. I kind of was, but I was more doing like the bodybuilder style workout. And I think that's what everybody was doing because that's what was popular. That's what was known. When you mention functional fitness now, And I know a lot of folks who still compete in bodybuilding, both men and women. And I think that they're tailoring their workouts, unless you're like a super heavyweight bodybuilder, just muscle on top of muscle. But most of the people that I know are doing more of a functional fitness style where they can jump into a CrossFit workout any day of the week. And, they're not going to the CrossFit games, but they can be healthy enough to do really well at it type thing.
Yep, absolutely. It's so funny you said that. I'm like thinking back, like, yeah, when I was in college at Rutgers, all I wanted to do was lift and get bigger. And I kind of like, I did that for a while. And then I went like really crazy in like my, mid 20s. And I put on like 20 pounds and just, I was so strong. But then, I couldn't run a mile without my knees wanting to break down. I couldn't row anymore. My swimming was suffering. And it was kind of then that I had this like revelation of like, okay, strength training is important, but nothing about this is helping you in any other facet of your life.
Aside from
And I
looking good.
kind of like,
Aside from looking good, let's go
yeah,
there.
right. Yeah, exactly. Right. But like only you think you look good. You're like looking in the mirror, right? You're like, yeah, look at this. And everyone else is just like, whatever, meathead. So
Go pump your fist. Go
yeah,
to Jenks and pump your fist there, buddy.
exactly. So yeah, it's like, it's funny you say that. I feel like everyone's kind of had that reckoning at some point where like, all right, this isn't for me. This is what I really want to be getting out of fitness and exercise. And then you kind of, gauge it accordingly. But yeah, I had the same experience.
Oh, dude, I'm dealing with it right now with my 14-year-old is like, I really want to start lifting. Like, I like doing these workouts with you, but, and I'm like, you're at the stage. I was like, we
Hmm.
have a full gym in our garage. You have me. You have your mother who knows even more than me probably when it comes to what to do. The thing is, buddy, you have to come out here. You have to get off your phone or not play a video game, or, you have to be out here and be committed at least 3 days a week to the strength aspect of this. But I'm like, you're at the point where like it's all starting to kick in for him and he's starting to put on a little more weight and he's
Hmm.
really athletic and he crushes me in functional fitness workouts, scaled down. We're not the same weight, but like, I'm like, you have to commit and you commit and you're going to be able to kind of take it from there. So I feel like my kids will have a better chance at being overall healthier for longer if we can get them staying on this path.
Oh, for sure. And I mean, they've obviously got, they're surrounded by like great influences between, their parents. And then I see the videos you post, like what your garage looks like. So, it's impossible for them to avoid. So that's good. Hopefully they pick up on that a little bit younger and can have that reckoning a little bit sooner. It took me till I was like 28 or 29 before I was like, nah, this is what I want to get out of exercise. And yeah, COVID was a big part of that. Like I said, when they shut down gyms and it clicked, and I was like, oh my god, I'm working out for like mental health as much as I am physical health. And then that kind of like set me on that path of, okay, I'm going to sign up for this iron. I'm going to, I always want to have something that I'm training for. I still stay in the gym and like maintain strength, but get something a little bit more out of these workouts.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a huge part of it, right? And it's when it all clicks. And to have it
Hmm.
click younger is even better. The same as like we'll go on vacation and be like, hey, we're going hiking today. You know what I mean? Like we're not just going to a theme park, but even being at a theme park and you're walking all day and doing things like that. Like look at how many steps we got on our watches.
Right.
But I love that part for my boys is like, we try to always do some type of an adventure. Like this summer, we're definitely going to hit some bigger hikes because they're both a little bit bigger. But that's all part of this fitness game too that people don't want to even consider, I guess, is a good way to put it.
Yeah, absolutely. Like it's not about the races. It's not about going the fastest of the workouts. It's knowing like, you know, whatever the world throws at you that day, you will be physically fit to the point where you can overcome it. Whether it's, the hike or the buddy who wants you to jump into his CrossFit workout or, you know, fighting a 2 or 3 alarm fire and you're on your third bottle and you're just starting to like, really start hooking ceiling and, you're in like a very dark place physically and mentally, but you can continue pushing through that.
You mean the fire where I told the person that was in charge that I physically couldn't do this anymore? Like if you're not watching, it was a motion of pulling ceilings and things because it was like my third bottle and there was no relief and I was physically done at that point in the
Ah,
night from everything that occurred. But I'm like, I can't do this anymore. And that's, people are like, bro, if you said that, it had to be rough. And I'm like, yeah, it was
yeah.
really rough. Like that,
Oh
that's how
man.
these things are, right? And sometimes that happens. And sure, I went back in and pulled more ceilings, but like that's the thought of this overall health and wellness thing that I think we're seeing more in society and in the emergency services.
Yeah, no doubt. And emergency services specifically, and I'll have my soapbox moment for a second here.
Go ahead.
You know, if you work professionally in emergency service or even in like a volunteer or part-time capacity, it is your responsibility to train like you are a professional athlete because that is the public's expectation when they call you, the level to which you are going to perform your job. And this is like one of my own personal shortcomings. If I go to a class or I'm on the training ground and I have somebody on their soapbox, kind of professing to me whatever it is they're teaching, and they are not in shape, and they look like an unmade bed and whatever they're wearing, and you can tell they just don't take care of themselves. I have a very difficult time taking them seriously in whatever they're teaching.
Sure.
Which again, that part's on me. But I really can't emphasize that enough, how important physical fitness is in this line of work. Everything we've talked about today, fire, law enforcement, working on the beach, EMS, it's just, you owe it to yourself and you owe it to, the public.
Yeah, and the writing is on the wall. You know what I mean? Like we don't these careers that we do, or even being a volunteer, whatever. When you're involved in the emergency services, the deck is stacked against you. The sleep,
Mm-hmm.
the meals, the physical stress, the mental stress, it's all there. It's all right in front of us. So you have to do something to prepare yourself for all of that. You don't have to be going to the CrossFit games. You don't have to do an Ironman triathlon, but you have to do
No.
something. Right? Don't they know?
Yes.
Exactly. Dude, that was the dream. I'm not going to lie. I really wanted that Iron Man tattoo on the back of my calf. And
do it. It's way cooler to just not get the tattoo and then just like casually drop it in conversation. Like I've never been one, like I never want to be identified as just like one thing. So I never did. I have a bunch of stupid tattoos that it's just not the Iron Man tattoo.
Not the Iron Man. Oh, dude, I
No.
remember running
But
races.
you should do it, man.
Yeah, oh yeah, I should do it. Yeah, it'd be great. Yeah, I could. I think I'm gonna get back into. I'm getting back into running kind of slowly, and I think I'm definitely gonna hit a marathon, for sure. And who knows where that goes? Retirement is
you.
coming. That could help.
Yeah, hell yeah. The running thing is cool because it's. I love the simplicity of it. I can get home from work. I can throw on a pair of sneakers and be out my door, and within a minute and a half, my heart rate's up. I'm in like that zone 3, zone 4, and I'm getting like a really good return on my time investment with nothing more than a pair of sneakers. So I do have like an appreciation for running. There's no excuse for anyone, I guess, unless you live in like an inner city or something, but there's really no excuse for anyone to not at least be able to just, get a mile or two or a couple miles in right outside your front door.
So that's a big part of it too, right? You just said it, a mile or two. You don't need to go and run 15 miles every day. If you can get even for me, if I can get a 5K, I did, maybe it was during COVID, I don't know, a few years ago, but I did 100 miles in the month of July with a weight vest, with 20-pound weight vest. But I was not out breaking land speed records, 10,
Mm-hmm.
12-minute miles. It's basically a 5K a day for 30 days.
Mm-hmm.
And then couple of 5-milers in there but you're not out there breaking records. And some of it was walking. I have no problem saying like, hey, I like to walk a couple of these days, but even to go out for a walk, my wife and I have been doing that. I'll throw on the vest and we'll go out for a walk at night. Listen, man, it's putting miles. It's getting out there. It's experiencing New Jersey,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we just had the same conversation this week. It was like, hey, after we eat dinner, let's just like go for a quick 10-minute walk around the block, walk the dog, whatever. Just kind of bring down those blood glucose levels and just do something after you gorge yourself with dinner. But that's it. It's like, it's that easy,
So it's not like the firehouse where you gorge yourself with dinner and then just lay on the couch and have ice cream.
Exactly.
Like it's my cheat day. Like it's my cheat meal. Let's call it my cheat meal. But even there, I've seen a huge change, and I've said this in the firehouse meals on my shift. There are definitely some that are way over the top, let's say, but you need those too. We need the calories, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they're a lot more like, hey, it's funny. The guy who cooks on my shift is a big rugby guy. And even he'll be like, dude, we've done a few heavies. He's like, we're going to do grilled chicken tonight. Like, we're going to go light tonight. And everybody's like,
and
okay, I
can
do
like,
that.
thank God.
Yeah. Like, amen. Grilled chicken, good vegetables. Like, let's go a little lighter. Like, I just can't.
For sure. Good stuff.
Nice, man. Well, we're getting close to that hour mark, and I don't want to keep you because I know you got a busy day ahead of you. We were talking about that before. We've covered a lot of things. Is there anything that you want else to put out there? You've been on your soapbox a few different times, which I liked. But I like that moment.
Sorry.
No, it's good soapbox moments, right? But anything we missed that I could...
No, we did. We covered a lot of topics here. I can't believe we're already at like the 54, 55 minute mark looking at the clock over here. Uh, no, but no, great. I think we covered a lot of good stuff.
Yeah,
We
I mean,
share we share a lot of similar passions.
yeah, it's crazy too. And again, it's one of these things where our life kind of intersected in a few ways, but I'm not going to lie, even when you were like, hey, I think I met you before. And I'm like, you say so,
Hmm.
man. Like,
Ah, yeah.
like I think we did too, but I can't tell you if we
Hmm.
did or not. But it's one of those things where I love having this platform and having folks like you that are like, hey, I just want to come on and talk about, being a lifeguard and all these cool things. And we have this great conversation that goes all over the place.
Yeah, no doubt. And just yeah, it was at FDIC. One thing I will say is like, you definitely I can guarantee you probably experience it. I know I experience it, like that feeling of burnout sometimes.
Yeah.
And when you get out there and you meet all these like-minded people, like, talking to you and just like that whole area you were in, just like what a refreshing moment, like it just kind of like reignites your passion for the craft and kind of get your head straight and get you back on track. And I always leave FDIC feeling so good. And like you said, it's those sort of like relationships and those interactions and meeting and talking to everybody you possibly can that really does it for me.
Well, that too, and and so many people say that, and you're right. It does reignite your passion for the craft and for being a firefighter. But even for me, it reignites my passion for just life because I see
Mhm.
all these, like you said, these like-minded people, and I have the fire side, I have kind of the fitness side of people that meet me, and I kind of have that business side too of folks, and I get to see people who I've seen start from just like I did, start from nothing and grow their business. Like, right next to us this year was Eric Allen and the fast board. Like, hey, I'm gonna chop a board in half and we're gonna rescue firefighters with it. And now, like, dude, they're all over the place. Like that's just such a
Everywhere.
great tool. And watching him advance and watching him and his partner just grow that business and just be the coolest people ever to hang out with and have a good time with. But like it really does reignite my passion for life. Just like every one of these episodes and recording them, it's so much fun to just get to kind of talk with someone and learn some new things and make new friendships and stuff. So I'm so thankful for you to come up to me and to, like I say it every episode, but to everybody listening, if you want to come on the show, it's not hard to just be like, yo, I want to come on the show. Okay, let's go. We'll figure it out. What am I going to talk about? I don't know. We'll figure it out. Like my wife says, I could talk to a wall. So
Yeah, no doubt. It was yeah, great to be here and yeah, just running into you and I think we were like two or three sentences into our conversation and you were like, we got to get you on the pod. All right, let's do
stop
it.
talking. Stop talking now. We're gonna do this on a podcast. Give me your
Yeah,
contact
yeah.
info and go away. Let's take a picture and go
Hmm.
away because we're gonna waste good stuff here. So it's
Sure.
awesome, man. Well, you got to finish with the size up 10. And you did self-admittedly admit that you've listened to a lot of the episodes but never made it to the end. So I like it when people don't know the questions ahead of time. It makes it
Oh,
better.
all
So
right, cool.
and
Good,
sometimes
good.
I switch them up just for fun. But
All right. Yeah, I was a little nervous. So yeah, all right. I'm ready.
this could be a surprise. But number one, what do you prefer, the beach or the mountains?
Oh man, that's a tough question. It's seasonal, right? I would say the beach. Like if I had to choose, like what I was going to live near, we're going beach.
Gotcha. You never know. You could be surprised, and the fact that you had to think about it is like that's why you asked the question. You just never know.
Yeah, yeah.
What are you more of, a night out or a night in person?
Oh man, I in the last couple of years, I'm full blown night in. Put I have like a ridiculous obsession with my sleep now. I blame this Garmin watch that I
Oh,
got.
dude, I'm in. Yeah, the Apple Watch. Yep.
Yeah, so I am all about my sleep score now. Like every morning I wake up and it's like, all right, how did I do? So I'm full on um, night in.
You know how bad I jinxed myself with the sleep score? It was like my wife is away at a conference right now and she's like, "Oh, I've been sleeping really good here." And I'm like, "Yo, I've been crushing it." Like I look in the morning and there's like no orange lines. Like I'm barely waking up. I don't know what's up. Last night, 4 o'clock in the morning, I'm staring at the ceiling. I'm like, son of a, why did I even say that? Like, it must have just been in my head. I ruined it. I had a streak going. I didn't get my streak thing today. I'm so sad.
It's funny because we're talking about like Rutgers and how our paths have crossed. And if anybody that I spent time with there is going to watch this, they're going to be like, bullshit, night in. I know that guy.
And that dude was
Uh,
like, dude, it's 2, but we can make it to the city in an hour and make the bars open until 4. Don't worry. I've been
yeah,
there.
right.
I know
Like,
what
no,
you're
we're going to
talking
go
about.
to Atlantic City. It's an hour and a half away, but there's an airport. It's like, yeah, that was one of my favorite lines. But yeah, I'm 34 years old now, guys. Like, give me a break. Night in, night in.
Can't do that. Always night in.
Final answer.
Give me Give me a movie everybody has to watch.
A movie
Yep, everybody's got to
everybody
watch.
has to watch. Um, I'm gonna go just because the theme of what we talked about today, Part of Water. It's the Ben Carlson story, the only lifeguard to have died in the line of duty making a rescue. It's available on Amazon. It's like 40 to 45 minutes long. If you want to get like a good cry in as like a first responder, it will really tug at your heartstrings.
Oh, thanks.
But
I was
yeah,
so into
part
watching
of
it until you said that. I'm like, oh, this could be a good one. Now
no,
I'm
you won't. It's just I don't know. It's like Ladder 49. You know, it's like a
gotcha,
sweet firefighter movie, but it's like sad.
gotcha.
Yeah, Part of Water. Great flick, quick, easy watch. Everyone should watch it.
All right, we'll check it out with the boys.
All
Cross
right.
country road trip. Who is your celebrity co-pilot, living or dead?
Wow, cross country road trip,
This is a deep podcast
celebrity.
here, bro. The size up is no joke. Like you should have got it from the
Yeah,
title. Like I've come a
yeah,
long way
dude, you're
since those
going
Rutgers
like
days. I'm deep now.
yeah. Wow, yeah, you're going deep on this one. I would definitely go probably musician and somebody who I'm familiar with is kind of like cerebral. Maybe like man, only because I just read their books. I would love to go cross country with either like Dave Grohl or Anthony Kiedis.
Oh, Dave Grohl, such a great book. He's already someone's
Yeah.
already picked him too. So that's a number 2 for
Oh
Dave
yeah.
Grohl.
Oh
Yeah,
man. All right.
that's
Yeah.
right. No, no,
Just
no.
such a
You're good.
great.
You're good. I
Oh
would go with it too. That book was amazing.
yeah.
Definitely
Right.
read
Like he's just
storyteller.
like
Good storyteller.
And did you listen? Did you read it or did you go audiobook?
I read it, but I hear there's more on the audio book, so I want to start to listen to it.
Yeah, so that's like if I could recommend anything, if you're reading a book, look if there's an audiobook option and see if the author actually reads it. It just brings like a whole like different life to the book. So Dave Grohl narrates it and it's like it's really good. So yeah, we'll go Dave Grohl, Cross Country.
I like it. I've said this before, but the on the podcast, the Arnold Schwarzenegger audiobook is amazing because it's him reading it and just
Oh man.
it's the way to go.
I'll have to check it out. All right, cool.
All right, number 5. Do you make your bed every day?
Yes. If I
Was
except I'm
hesitation.
usually well, yeah, like my girlfriend usually beats me to it.
Gotcha.
So I don't know. We'll take like person out of the bed gets made every day.
Gotcha.
But
Gotcha. I do understand.
yeah, yeah. If you want to change the world, you got to make your bed. I feel like everyone's seen that YouTube clip, right?
That's it for sure.
Yeah.
But there's so many people who answer. They're like, no. Why would I waste my time? I'm just gonna make. I just had a guy not too long ago. Was like, I'm just gonna mess it up again tonight. I'm not making it.
Yeah.
How about a book? A book everybody's got to read. You could say Dave Grohl if you want, because it's that good.
I mean, it is that good.
Could you imagine? All right, we're gonna talk. I don't even care your answer for this one because now I'm talking about the Dave Grohl book. But could you imagine?
Because I was about to rack my brain.
How epic, and he has some great video clips of his mom like on tour with him and things, but like his
Mm-hmm.
mom was like, I don't know, what was he, like 16, and she's like, okay, go in this van and tour across the country with these other kind of not adults and be a
Right.
rock star kid. Bye.
Yeah, in a punk rock band named Scream.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's good. Yeah,
It's like
good.
best
I'm sure
parent
she
ever. There's
yeah.
no cell phones, no like here's some quarters for the payphone.
Right.
Call me
So true.
collect and I'll accept the charges. But yeah, how epic is she? Like best mom ever, because I'm not that dad.
Yep.
Trust me.
Yeah.
All right, which one are you taking? Highways or back roads?
Oh, Backroads.
I love it.
Yeah, 10 times out of 10.
Oh, this could probably be a cool one for you. A bucket list place to visit.
Bucket list place to visit. So I actually just at the end of this winter, I made like a list of places I would like to go snowboard, and there's a lot of places out west, but that's pretty realistic. So I would say snowboarding in either Chile or Japan.
Nice.
Those are 2 places, and I'd really like to get over to Chamonix as well. So yeah, I guess I don't know. I narrowed it down to 3. How's that?
I'll take it. Jared Mann, my buddy from Australia, he goes every year to Japan for snowboarding because from Australia,
Oh yeah.
it's just like he's like, you have to come meet. I'm like, bro, I'm coming to Australia this year. I can't get to Japan for like another 3 or so. Like,
Yeah. The travel alone is like 2 days just to get to and either one. So
yeah. We got a 23-hour flight. We're all the 4 of us are looking forward to it. Never fear. It's Game of
Good luck.
Thrones. I'm gonna watch a lot of Game of Thrones. Is basically my mission for that. And be
there
fun.
you go.
All right, 2 more questions. Is it football or football for you? Which one are you watching?
Oh, man. I don't follow like any organized sports. I just like don't have the time and I'm not into it.
I'll take it.
So I guess like either or. But what's funny about that is like I love sports documentaries. Like I'm like obsessed with
Yeah.
like the stories of perseverance and everything else. But yeah, throw a game on and it's like whatever. I would probably say football. I feel like every play is like a little bit more action, whereas football there's not as many like goals and scoring.
Oh God, but when they score,
But
it's so beautiful.
it
It's
is
so
so
beautiful.
exciting,
It's
right? Like
so
it is, and
exciting.
like oh my God, and just like the cardiovascular element of those guys just running back and forth for however long.
90 minutes.
Yeah,
90 plus minutes. They're killing it, man.
yeah. How long is
The
that
World
game?
Cup is coming to
Right.
New Jersey soon. Pay attention. Start to
I
get
know,
on
I
it.
know,
But
I
I agree
know,
with
I
you
know.
about so I'm not a big sports guy either, but the sports documentary, like I love those stories, like whether they
Hmm.
be, like the 30 for 30, like or just anything like that. Like I'm really into hearing that backstory and their training. And I feel like there's so many people that don't appreciate that. They just watch the game and they don't look at that backstory end of it at all. And that's
Hmm.
such a big part of it. So I'm so happy you said that.
No
We
doubt.
actually have way more in common than I really thought we did coming into this, which
Oh,
is
cool. All
another
right.
like cool thing to kind of get to host a podcast and meet new people. So
All right, good. Well, we're gonna hang out this summer. I mean, I'm telling you right now. I expect you to hit me up. My house is like 4 minutes from the beach in Asbury Park, so
oh,
you're
then
gonna
we're
come
in.
down.
That's my beach.
Dude.
We're in.
We'll
We're
do
in.
some cool beach stuff. We'll surf. We can go for a row. We'll have a good time.
Can we just go to the bar?
We can do that
Can't we
too.
just go watch a show? Like, what?
No,
Everybody sees
absolutely not.
me and they just want to do
Mhm.
fitness stuff, but I'm like, just
Yeah,
go get a beer and watch some live
we can
music.
do that too. I'm sitting in my garage right now. There's so much beer in this fridge. We could do that. It's a cool place. Look, there's fire patches. You'll feel right home. We can do the beer after
Oh,
we
see,
surf or do something fun.
after the fitness stuff, my boys will love you if you take them surfing. So you're in. You're in. All right, last question.
Perfect.
The best advice you could give to your younger self.
Chill out.
Love it.
Relax.
Love it. No, again, it's so crazy because everyone that answers this, I'm like, perfect. And I needed that advice, and we all need that advice, and I need to give it to my kids because it's the same thing.
Mhm.
I need it now sometimes. Just chill out. It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be this crazy thing.
Hmm.
So, dude, that's such a great way to end the podcast. Chill out. That may be actually the name of this podcast. Now that I think about it,
Nice.
like it's nice.
That's good. And I started by telling you, I have a vacation day in today, and my life's about to get super insane. So maybe I'll take some of my own advice and just say, you know what, just chill out for the rest of the day.
Just gonna
Like,
chill out. Yeah. Me
yeah.
too. I'm not gonna do the yard work that I'm supposed to do. I'm just gonna chill out because Jack said just chill out on the podcast. I'm just gonna leave the yard work. It'll be there on
Yeah,
Wednesday.
no, your wife will totally understand.
Yeah, she'll be in. I'll clip this one up real quick and send it to her. And be like, hey, look.
Yeah, Jack who?
No, we're not hanging out with him. You can't. Wait, does he have a parking spot at Asbury we can use? And we can hang out with him. Jack, man, this has been a great time, man. Thanks so much for coming on the show, man. It's been epic.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. That was a really, really fun conversation. And yeah, I look forward to seeing you soon. I'm confident now that our paths will accurately like intersect,
Again,
right place,
we
right
can make
time.
a plan. We can make a plan and it'll happen. So
For sure. For
sweet,
sure.
man.
Yeah, good stuff.
Listen, so for everybody listening, again, I always say I'm going to try to keep this to an hour, but I think we're just going to go with 70 minutes now because I feel like all my episodes are 70 minutes long. So maybe after over a year of doing this every week, I've come to the sweet spot of being 70 minutes. So hopefully your commute is 70 minutes one way or 45 minutes each way. So you get it in the car that way, as opposed to that 60, but I'll keep working on it. Jeremy doesn't care. Sebi just has to edit for 10 more minutes or so when he goes through all this. So he'll survive one way or another. But thanks again for tuning in. This has been the Size Up by National Fire Radio, where what you do off the job matters.
National Fire Radio.